Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. As we count down until Halloween this year, I have finally done it. I have finally went and watched Hogan versus Warrior from 1998's Halloween Havoc in WCW. This is honestly the first time I've watched this match since it happened. I've listened to reviews almost every year. A wrestling podcast that I listen to will drag this out of the ashes and watch this match and do some sort of a live review. I've heard Tony Schiavone do it. We've heard Brian and Vinny do it. Tons of the really good wrestling podcasts out there have always covered this, but this is the first time that honestly I have done this, and this match was bad. It was really bad. I can honestly tell you that most people talk about Halloween Havoc from 1998 as being a really good pay-per-view. Most people, the one thing that really saves this match is that honestly most people remember Goldberg versus DDP going over the time limit of the pay-per-view, and basically some people having their pay-per-view feeds cut and WCW not being able to show the end of the match. And have to show this the next night on WCW Nitro, which was one of the last times that WCW would have a huge, real big boost in the ratings because people changed the channel from Raw to Nitro because Nitro was giving away the free main event from the night before. Goldberg was hot. He was on the undefeated streak at this time. He was still the World Heavyweight Champion. DDP was somebody that was real hot. He was one of the first guys to really get shots in on the NWO. And as Dusty Rhodes put it, he was believable because DDP had the diamond cutter and anybody could get hit with the diamond cutter and pinned at any time. DDP was fresh off of winning War Games, the pay-per-view before. The Warrior had just came into WCW. He had taken a lot of money. Basically, WCW was using the whole we'll redo everything that WWE, I apologize, at the time WWF had done in the past, and for the nostalgic value, people would want to feel this. The Ultimate Warrior was one guy that was on the sideline. He had been back and forth with Vince McMahon. I believe the last time we had seen him in wrestling was in 1996. And Vince brought him in. It didn't work again, and he let him go. Eric Bischoff went out and he signed the Ultimate Warrior. Warrior came into WCW. His first, television promo led to huge ratings, but also at the same time, the promo never ended. I don't know if I'm exaggerating the point, but I believe the promo was in the area of about 20 minutes long. And it just never ended. From there, they didn't want to go right into the match, so Ultimate Warrior was a part of Team WCW at War Games. He chased Hollywood Hulk Hogan away from the cage, and they were both out of the match. Would set up Hogan versus Warrior from Las Vegas at Halloween Havoc here. And most people thought this was going to be another match much like WrestleMania 6 back in 1990. This match was 8 years later. I loved how basically the announcers built up the fact that basically Warrior had been sitting on the sidelines, and Hogan for the last 8 years would love to get this win back where he lost the championship at WrestleMania. This match is just an all-around bad ordeal. Basically, they talk about how this match is going to be a slow match because Hogan needs to slow it down. We see the test of strength. We see the 1990 crossing the ring, running the ropes back and forth until Hogan finally grabs the scoop slam. There's a point at one point when the former NWO referee Nick Patrick is in the corner with Hulk Hogan, and Hulk just blatantly drops a knee, knocking out Hogan. And at this point, Hogan calls for the troops from the back, where Hogan has the Giant, Stevie Ray, and Vincent NWO Hogan members run down to the ring. Hogan ends up getting kicked by the Giant in the face when Warrior ducks out of the way of one of the Giant's kicks, which basically sort of has to run off the NWO, making it a one-on-one match again. At this point, Hogan is trying any means necessary to get this match back under control, where he takes off his weight belt, which he started wearing around this time, and just starts whipping the Ultimate Warrior with it. And at this point, Nick Patrick wakes up from his sleep and just is standing there watching Hogan whip Warrior with the belt, which Shivani and Bobby the Brain Heenan try to debate and cover up the fact that why there was no disqualification called. Is that it's a part of Hogan's wrestling attire, and he could use it in the match if he needs to, which I think is easily the most weakest buyout of all time. At this point, Hogan curls up in the corner, getting a Ziploc baggie from his tights, which you can see has some sort of soaked, like almost paper towel, which is dripping into the corner. You can see, drips coming off it. I think it's actually just soaked in lighter fluid and has a lighter in his hand. At this point, Hogan tries to light the lighter fluid and throw the paper towel in the face of the Ultimate Warrior, which does not go to plan. The paper towel basically blows up in Hulk Hogan's face, and the Ultimate Warrior, who's supposed to sell the fact that he's hit with this, brushes it out of his face, goes and attacks Hogan in the corner and starts kicking the paraphernalia out of the ring, maybe trying to clean it up if they have to have, some sort of edits for WCW video later on down the road. And at that point, the match gets thrown into we don't have anything planned. In the lead up to the Warrior versus Hogan match, Warrior had stolen the Disciple, and the Disciple joined One Warrior Nation, one of the weakest, I guess you can say, groups in WCW. They had lots of, stables at the time, but for some reason, One Warrior Nation was one, but had two dudes in it. And right before the match, Hulk Hogan thought that Horace Hogan was going to be leaving the NWO and joining the One Warrior Nation. At this point, Horace was attacked on Nitro with a steel chair shot to the head, which was very, very stiff, very unprotected. Split Horace's head open, 17 stitches. You can see it. Basically, the brain says it looks like a zipper, and that was the best way to describe it. Eric Bischoff brings Horace down to the ring holding a steel chair. At this point, you gotta wonder, does Warrior have any friends? I mean, basically, this is now 5 members of the NWO that have ran down to the ring, and no one has tried to stop it. And I know that at the point, Eric Bischoff owned the place, and he even says that, you work for me, you listen to me, when he's talking to WCW security. But nobody tries to help this guy. At this point, Horace gets into the ring. Most people think that he's going to attack Hulk Hogan to sort of get a one-up on him for knocking him out on Nitro. But Horace does the weakest chair shot I've ever seen in the history of professional wrestling to the back of the Ultimate Warrior. Hogan then hits the leg drop, and it's 1, 2, 3. Hogan gets his win, and he's one up to the Ultimate Warrior. At this point, Warrior, who's laid out in the ring, is covered in lighter fluid, and it looks like Hogan is going to burn the Ultimate Warrior right there in the middle of the ring, and he might as well have, because besides for Warrior showing up in Spain and wrestling a match against Orlando Jordan in like 2011, 2012, whenever that was, he was not seen in the world of professional wrestling ever again. I mean, he was done. He had a long-term contract with WCW that they bought with Ted Turner's money. If you watch the WWE's Always Believe Ultimate Warrior documentary, Ultimate Warrior says that it was one of the hugest mistakes in his life to go to WCW. Basically, WCW never called him. He never called them back. He never worked there again. And you got to draw the lines. That the only reason they brought him in was for Hogan to beat him. Maybe they saw the writing on the wall. Maybe people didn't care about Warrior as much as they did. I know that Warrior's not here to defend himself, but, Vince, uses people over and over and over again who work. But you got to wonder if Warrior was too much of a distraction in the back, not wanting to go along with plans. We saw on Nitro a few weeks beforehand where Warrior was supposed to make some sort of a run-in and take down the NWO, and they kept waiting and kept waiting and kept waiting, and Warrior was nowhere to be seen, and Nitro had to go off the air 3 minutes early because the clusterfuck just had to be ended, because basically the NWO was standing out there just wasting time. Warrior was already supposed to be there, and he's nowhere to be seen. So maybe just WCW felt that Warrior didn't want to play ball and just took their ball and went home. So this match is bad. Really, really bad. Even in the history of Halloween Havoc and the rumor that someday WWE might use it again, never watch this match.